President Obama asked Congress to give him the authority to deport thousands of Central American children who have crossed the border illegally. The move comes just after comprehensive immigration reform has effectively been declared dead in the House.
President Obama will ask Congress for $2 billion to deal with the sudden surge of unaccompanied children crossing the border from Mexico. In addition to that money, the president is also asking for more authority in sending border crossers back to their home country. The president also wants stricter penalties for so-called coyotes who smuggle children across the border for cash.
Last week, Representative Luis Gutierrez took to the House floor to declare that immigration reform prospects are dead, at least until the end of Obama's presidency.
You're done. Leave the field. Too many flagrant offenses and unfair attacks and too little action. You're out. Hit the showers. It's the red card.
According to Politico, the Democratic Gutierrez was considered the most optimistic congressional advocate for immigration reform in the GOP-led House.
It doesn't really matter how many concessions and how many times we have sat down. And no one, more than I, have sat down with Republicans to sit down and to say, let's discuss and find a way. And you know what we're doing right now? We're having a hearing, criminalizing children and exploiting politically a humanitarian crisis at our border.
Politico states the primary loss of Majority Leader Eric Cantor and the surge in child migrants as the reasons why immigration reform didn't make it through the House this year. Last year, the Senate passed a bill called the Border Security, Economic Opportunity and Immigration Modernization Act. The bill included a faster path to citizenship for unauthorized immigrants, agricultural workers, and the so-called Dreamers. It further included increased border enforcement, high-skilled visa reform, and mandatory e-verify for employers. The last major immigration bill was passed in 1986. It is outdated and leaves many problems unaddressed. According to news site Vox, in 2012, approximately 11.5 million unauthorized immigrants lived in the United States. Of these, about half entered the country illegally, the other half entered on temporary visas but stayed once their visas expired. Since 2012, there has been a significant surge in child migrants. According to The Hill, they are primarily from high-violence Central American countries.
They come alone because many have parents here in the U.S. who are undocumented and can't easily leave and return to the country. The majority come from the Central American countries of Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. They enter through the Rio Grande Valley section of the Texas border.
There's been an increase in gang activity in those countries, and there's also, not a very strong rule of law in those countries.
According to the LA Times, the administration is asking Congress to approve $2 billion in emergency funding to increase border security and assistance. This presents lawmakers with a vote on whether to deport thousands of children. The LA Times quotes Michelle Branet of the Women's Refugee Commission saying, "It's pretty sad if the one thing they passed this year is deporting a bunch of kids. Not just deporting, but permanently rolling back due process." That's a quick look at immigration legislation. I'm Julia Rabe.